morning and welcome to the Point. This past week in Lansing, Governor Gretchen Whitmer introduced her first ever budget, $60 billion worth of spending for the state of Michigan in the next fiscal year. Out of that, $2.5 billion would be new taxes, a 45-cent tax on gas per gallon every time you fill up. And that $2.5 billion has been the focus of most of the conversation surrounding the gas tax. The governor addressed that in her budget presentation.
No one likes to raise taxes. I wish I didn't have to come here today and put this budget before you, because I know it's hard. But the hard truth is we've got to get to work.
So now it's up to the legislature. We wanted to talk to appropriators to find out what they think about the budget. We talked to one Democrat, but we start with the Republican, Senator Jon Bumstead. He's the vice chairman of the Appropriations Committee in the Senate. Senator, let me start by saying congratulations and welcome to the other side of the state capitol. You served 6 years over in the State House. Now you're serving on appropriations here in the Senate. That becomes important because the governor just this week unveiled her budget. You were there, you heard her presentation. We're going to get to one of your questions about roads in a little bit, but tell me overall, what was the impact of a $60 billion budget ask?
The impact to the office or impact to the state of Michigan?
Either. How did you take it, or how does it impact your constituents?
Hearing from constituents, they kind of knock the air out of them a little bit. We haven't received any positive phone calls in the office regarding people are opposed to such a large increase, and we need to take that seriously. But all in all, we have to keep an open mind, and we still have to work together with the governor and get budgets passed, so we have to approach it with an open mind.
When you talk about the phone calls you're getting, I'm going to make the assumption that those mostly are focused on the proposal to raise the gasoline tax by 45 cents a gallon.
Correct.
So when you start talking about the impact that has on folks, I know you were talking about how many miles you drive, more than I do, to be sure. It varies from person to person, but it has an impact on everybody, and I assume that's what you're getting calls about.
Yes, just working families. You know, if we are asking them for another $500 to $1,000 a year on a vehicle, that's a lot of money. And how do we offset that with a working family? I think it's going to be a tough sell for working families in West Michigan.
One of the things that the governor talked about was this $2.5 billion, and that was the number it was going to take to get roads to 90% down the road, a decade or so. This comes a few years after the number was $1.2 billion that was going to go to the roads. So it's only now being fully implemented. Correct. In there. Yep. So is this a matter of, as she says, a lot of deferred maintenance, a lot of things that we haven't done to the roads, and as she put it, decades of disinvestment?
You know, I think we addressed a big part of the problem and issue in 2015 with that proposal that doesn't come into full effect until 2021. You know, over between 2018 and 21, in the 34th Senate seat alone, we're going to increase the state allotment of almost $7 million, close to $50 million in my 3 counties in the 34th Senate seat. So, you know, dollars are coming in. It's just going to take us time. And that was the original reason we passed that package back in 2015, not all the money all at once, because it's going to take the construction companies time to ramp up. It's just going to take us time to get the problem fixed. Can't do it overnight. You know, it's such a small window of time to work on the roads in this state.
What does that then say for you and your colleagues that will be on the Appropriations Committee, and obviously your Democratic colleagues as well, when you start to consider that request for $2.5 billion at the 45 cents? Now, I should point out there might be other avenues to generate that money. It might not end up being a 45-cent gas tax. But before we get to there, let's talk a little bit about the total dollar. Is that the right dollar figure? Is $2.5 billion where the state needs to position itself?
You know, that might be a high number to start with. Maybe we can negotiate somewhere in between. But, you know, I'm hearing from folks, let's see what happens. You know, they're still not happy with what we did in 2015. Let's see what happens with those dollars. And with a good economy, with the dollars that come into general fund, maybe we use more of those dollars to back up the $2+ billion we need.
When you talk to your constituents, obviously they have concerns about that. On the other hand, you have 3 pretty big counties, and you got a lot of roadways up there. I assume they have concerns about their roads like other places, though you were talking about the general condition of your roads probably pretty good.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. My counties, they've done a very good job over the years maintaining the roads. You know, you have your spots where it's, you know, they're a challenge, but all the roads can't be perfect at the same time. You know, X amount of dollars and time to do that. But the counties have done a very good job in Oceana, Newaygo, and Muskegon County, I believe. And some of the cities, you know, we need some work on and bring them some more dollars. But I think the package that is coming in to full fruition in 2021 will help a lot of the cities as well.
One of the things the governor talked about in her budget presentation, and I've heard a fair amount about this, and I'm a little surprised that people picked up on this so quickly, but one of the things the legislature does, and it's not just this legislature, it's happened for as long as I've been here, is when there's a need, they try to shift funding. It happened in the Granholm administration, it happened in the Engler administration, it happened in the Snyder administration. But one of the things that the governor talked about was making sure that money that is being collected for a specific purpose goes in that column. For example, general fund money that had been shifted into transportation, she wants backed out. She wants that money to go to higher education. She wants money in higher education that had come from K through 12 to go back to K through 12. Is she onto something there, or does this money need to be more fluid in order to keep a balanced budget?
Well, we need to pick our priorities. You know, you look at some folks, it depends what part of the state you're from as well. You know, I think we need to look at the dollars we're already generating. You know, with a good economy fixes all. So that's how we can generate extra dollars. You know, we're short in the labor market. There's help wanted signs everywhere. Those people getting a paycheck that pay taxes will benefit the roads and our schools. And if they move back to Michigan, they're bringing their kids, it benefits the school districts with their student count. So it's really all about the economy, not creating jobs, but helping the private sector create their jobs so people are employed and can make a living wage so they can pay taxes. That's what helps, not just raising taxes, but creating things, helping them create businesses that can create jobs.
What is the challenge that faces you as a Republican in the majority in the Senate in divided government? Your first opportunity at divided government, at least here in Lansing. What are those challenges like when it comes to things like putting together a budget that will both meet muster with your colleagues and your constituents and with the person who occupies the office over in the Romney building?
You know, Michigan is such a large state. You know, you have Southeast Michigan has their issues, West Michigan, where I'm from, has our issues, Marquette has their issues. We need to look at everybody and treat the budget fairly. You know, I'm all about Michigan, you should fight for dollars in West Michigan as hard as they do in Southeast Michigan. So it's really about making sure we get our fair share throughout the state. That's part of the problem I had with the road funding package. Is the new package that the governor proposed at 45 cents is not going to run through Act 51, and that concerns me in West Michigan because, you know, I'm afraid that our districts will not receive much of those dollars of that 45 cents per gallon tax increase.
And I think we ought to expand on that a little bit because I regularly reference PA 51. It was the Public Act 51 of 1951 that is the distribution formula that has been used ever since for money that goes into the transportation department. And that formula would not be used, according to the governor, if this 45 cent per gallon gas tax was established. Instead, it would be a commission that would choose based on need,
correct,
based on usage, like more heavily used roads, and I assume that means interstates and that type of thing. So rural roads, as it was presented to me after you asked your question in committee, somebody said, well, rural roads north of Kent County aren't going to see much of that money, and that's your concern.
That would be my best guess as well. You know, and I look at a lot of my district too, they have local millages. The townships have voted in millage, 2 or 3 mills, some of the counties have. So we've addressed the local side of things. I just want to make sure, you know, we're addressing that, but also get our fair share of our 45 cents per gallon if there is going to be that increase. Because it concerns me, who does the governor select to be on the commission? They all be from Southeast Michigan. And I know the roads down there, they get heavily, you know, they're heavily used with truck traffic. So there's some roads in, you know, bad shape. We all understand that. But we also pay our share up north, and it's expensive, 45 cents per gallon hit. We're afraid it could affect our tourist trade as well.
I know it's a little unfair to ask, but if indeed there is going to be a need for additional revenue, and it seems that there is some general consensus that more money into the roads might be the right thing to do. Maybe the number isn't agreed on. Maybe 2.5 billion is not the number that everybody lands on. But let's pretend that there's a magical number that everybody can agree to. Is it possible, is it plausible, should people who are watching this show this morning think that that money may be generated, but it may not all come from a gas tax? In other words, is there some kind of a blended solution that might be worked out that would find different sources? In the end, it's still going to be Michigan taxpayers, but coming from different sources of revenue?
Like I said earlier, I think we need to look at what we put in 2015, see where those dollars get us, and if there is new revenue, and with a strong economy, we can't tax our corporations out of the state like we did during the lost decade. That doesn't help anybody. We just need to keep the tax base as low as we can for the employers to employ people. And that, I think, just a good economy and people having a good paying, well-paying job, money comes into the state, that's how we can make up that difference. But you find out in Lansing, if you're here long enough, when there's extra dollars, each group of people want a million here, a million there. Let's concentrate, find our priorities, and spend our money accordingly.
Final question, it may be unfair to ask, but I'll ask it anyway. What are the odds that a budget gets done before summer break, the way it has for the past 8 years?
I think the odds could be pretty good. I think we'll get a better feel over the next month, probably. But I think we all want to get that accomplished because it really benefits their schools so they can do their budgets.